I cannot stress to you how much I really, really don't want to make this video. And it's not about bitching or moaning about, ooh, I'm on YouTube and I really don't want to be here, because it's also true. It's just that I figured I should tell you what happened yesterday because there's serious escalation in Israel now. So I am actually mask exempt, and the Israeli law, or whatever you call the COVID regulations nowadays, says that if someone has a perceived disability, whether it be mental or physical or emotional, especially if they have a disability card or anything like that, police need to leave them alone. And it took me about 6 months to get mine after I was getting treated with cancer, for cancer. During which time I still believed that COVID was a real threat and that I was obviously with a very weak immune system after the chemo. So I couldn't breathe with the mask, and I asked my doctor what to do, and he gave me an inhaler. Like, put on a mask, and if you can't breathe, just take another medication. Woohoo! So then I was still afraid, as I said. I was sure I was going to die because, like, my friends were protesting, my coworkers were protesting Netanyahu at the time, and I didn't even understand where this was going. I still bought the whole thing, drank the Kool-Aid, as they say. And in order for me to be able to breathe when I was in public transportation or somewhere inside, I would find a place to hide behind like a glass or something like that. And then I would take off my mask and I would start catching my breath. And I think I've told the story before, but one of the bus drivers actually stopped the bus in the middle of the road to come up to me and scream at me. And when I told him my health status, he didn't care, and he said that I was putting both myself and him at risk, and he would not keep driving unless I put on my mask. Long story short, that was the beginning of the red pill, because I realized healthy people were so terrified of not just the virus, but also the consequences of what would happen if a policeman saw you, that I started looking into what else we're being lied to about. And obviously, since I never caught COVID, despite the fact that I had a very weak immune system on chemotherapy, which I was told that even if COVID wasn't a thing, I was supposed to wear a mask because even the common cold could kill me back then. And nothing happened. I mean, I took care of myself. I took supplements and everything, vitamins, whatever they're telling us that we can't say on social media. So I realized that COVID was no bigger a threat to me back then than anything like the common cold, at least to me. I don't know about you with your robust immune systems, but to me with my weak immune system, it didn't pose any threat because I didn't get it. So fast forward to yesterday, when I already have my disability card, which I try never to use. I always stand in line. I'm exempt from standing in line. I'm exempt from all kinds of things. And since I've been feeling much better on natural remedies and natural treatments, I mean, I have more energy and I am completely off my pain medication, completely off any medication whatsoever, actually, to be precise. So I very rarely use my disability card, but I do use it for the mask because I've always had trouble breathing in confined places. It's not asthma or anything like that, but it's basically when something covers my mouth or my nose, I start yawning and then I have to catch my breath and then I don't feel well, and whatever. I don't like talking about my health issues. I only talk about them because they're relevant to this story. So yesterday, coming back from the health food store, which I mostly buy like vegetables and organic food and organic meat, supplements, things that have as little preservatives or fillers as possible. And suddenly I look to my left, and there are two Israeli police officers in gray uniform which is not the regular police, who they wear blue uniform. And they're snapping a picture of me. So I'm usually on public transportation. I usually read a book or I'm online, and I wear my earphones because I don't want people to catch my eye, because they've started screaming at people and talking about those who don't wear a mask, and I really don't feel like confronting anyone. So I do my best to avoid the confrontation. If someone physically touches me or starts talking to me more like in my face, then I do confront them back as self-defense, if you can call confrontation, verbal confrontation, fighting back. So long story short, there are two cops standing on me, literally, like I'm sitting near the window and they're standing around me like I'm about to get arrested or something. It was terrifying as hell. So especially since they're not wearing the regular uniform, which is horrifying. Like, what is this? What unit is this? Is this a special unit? What are they going to do to me, you know? So I look at them, and it happened before, just not with these police officers. I'm always asked, why are you not in a mask? And there you can always see them like slobbering, like, you know, I'm going to give her a ticket and I'm going to be good at my job today. And I'm like, sorry, I'm exempt. Please get away from me. And I always show them my disability card. And if they ask other questions, I show them the law, because I have it in my email, because most of them have no idea what the law is, despite being police officers enforcing these laws that are actually decrees. They're not laws. So the two cops are like, okay, show me your ID. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to show you my ID. I'm going to show you my exemption card. I show them my disability card. They're like, this doesn't say that you're disabled enough to be mask exempt. And I'm like, the law doesn't say that I have to prove anything to you. It just says that and this is, by the way, this is the law. Because this is the court ruling for this decree, or against it, whatever. So I'm showing these cops my state-issued disability card, which I hate showing, and they're like, that's not enough. And I'm like, well, yes it is. And they're like, no, it's not. You have to prove that you can't breathe without a mask. I said, no, I literally don't have to. I go to my email. I read them one document, which I show them first, and it's obvious that they don't read it, and they're like, this is not enough. And I said, okay, let me read it out loud. And for some reason, instinctively, I started reading it as loudly as I can to make as many heads on the train turn around. And I'm like, okay, this law says that if a police, and I'm quoting as well where it comes from. So this is from the Ministry of Justice, this is from the Ministry for Disabilities, and this is from the police and all that. And I'm reading out loud that if a police officer or someone whose job it is to give you a ticket, basically, perceives or is told that you are mask exempt, you don't even have to show anything, which I did. I read it like 3 different examples several times. And then they're like, well, it still doesn't prove anything. And I'm like, I told them my health status, which I prefer not to fully disclose, but I do have problems with my lungs due to the cancer, because it has metastasized there. And I really hate exposing this, but it's just, I have to, because I need you to understand how ridiculous things have gotten. And then I'm, okay, that's not enough for you. Let me show you another example. And I go to my email to pull out another example. And they're like, no, I'm not going to have you read off Google. And I'm like, I'm not reading off Google. I'm reading off the Ministry of, the website for the rights for the disabled. And then basically at the end of this, when enough heads turned, they're like, well, we're not going to give you, we decided not to give you a ticket. And I said, what do you mean you decided not to give me a ticket? You literally saw that I know the law. This is why you're not giving me a ticket. And I showed them that at that point I was already shaking because, I don't care who you are, two police officers standing over you when you're a law-abiding citizen who's never hurt anyone or basically rarely even crosses the road on the red light. I don't care who you are, you would be horrified and terrified and shaking. And I said, you are literally giving me an anxiety attack right now. So they went away, and I took a picture of them, and I remembered their names, one of their names at least, and I said it out loud as well, because I was hoping that someone would document it. I don't know if they did. Afterwards, I was still shaking, and it took me... This is the part where I talk about the comment that stayed with me from the one I was talking about in the last video, where someone said, clearly you have mental health issues and whatever. Look, I'm not saying that I'm all happy-go-lucky and I have no fear or no anxiety towards what's about to come, because I actually think that if I didn't have any fear or anxiety about the future of what's going on here in Israel and in the world and in Australia, that would mean I would probably have some serious mental health issues, because the denial is a lot scarier than reacting normally. I don't know, I'm no psychologist, but at least that's how I feel. I mean, if your family member died, you don't need antidepressants. You need to get over the death of your family member. And this is the same thing. So today I was actually planning to go to the beach again, but I didn't feel like I was up to strong enough to confront more people, because every day I have to confront several people about this exemption, which is stupid, but I'm doing it because A, I can't breathe, and B, because it's something I feel like if I have these health circumstances, then it's at least my job to make sure that I use it in a way that wakes as many people up as possible. And whenever someone is sitting next to me and they observe what's happening around them, they usually wake up and they usually take my side. It's very rare when someone is so terrified or brainwashed that they justify like the police or the I don't know, the train conductors or whatever, the train security guards and whatever. It's very rare. And yesterday it took me, it's really, really, I don't know, self-affirmation is a weird thing to me, but it is a tool that I've been using. And just telling yourself that you stood up to two police officers who were ready to devour you, literally, like you should have seen the look on their faces. And when you confront two police officers and you win, because they didn't even give me a ticket or anything when I was sure were about to like drag me out of the train, which happens in Israel. So I had to like give myself an affirmation saying, good God, you confronted two police officers and you won, so good on you and whatever. I don't usually do this, but I had to do it this time because otherwise I would still feel like I was attacked. So take from this what you will, don't give up, and use whatever unique circumstances that you have to push back. That's what I'm saying. And the other thing is that today I had to go to the post office, and there they did respect my mask exemption and everything, and there is a clerk there who knows me, and I started going there since before I got diagnosed, obviously. So she remembers how I felt before and how I am now, and she remembers me not having the disability card, and she knows me now. And I get into the post office. First of all, they made it like a surveillance state that you cannot even get your package unless you have an exemption, or you have to what do you call it? Like order ahead to stand in line anywhere now. So you have to go online and like order your number ahead of time. So, and if you like show your public transportation card and you have to recharge it online, they show you exactly when you were on public transportation, where you went, how much you paid for it. So it's basically everything is now surveilling you. It's been like this for several years, but during the COVID crisis, it got so much worse. So there was a religious woman there with several kids, and she was like about to cry. And apparently she didn't order in advance, and they didn't let her through, and she was standing there with three kids. And I said, you know what? I am actually exempt from waiting in line. I'll give you the number that I ordered, and I'll use my disability card, because I usually don't do this. I usually wait in line like everyone else unless I'm feeling very bad, and then I ask for something, which hasn't happened in a while, by the way. So I go into the post office, and I hear someone screaming at me, "Where's your mask?" And I'm like, I'm exempt from wearing a mask. And this is the same clerk, and she recognizes me. She calls me over to her. Um, and I say, "I'm here to pick up my packages." And she looks at me and she says, "How did you get the exemption? I can't breathe. I've been working here with this mask, and they won't let me take it off. How did you get the exemption?" So I feel like I'll pretend that I'm a famous YouTuber with like thousands or millions of subscribers and with sponsors, and I'll advertise Fakemaskusa. And I told her, you know what? Give me a piece of paper. And she gives me a piece of paper, and I write down the Fakemaskusa, and I tell her, you don't have to order from them because it costs some money plus shipping, but just read what they have to say about their products. And I go away smiling. And I realized that the people who are the most brainwashed, and she says, by the way, she knows me, she knows that I have health issues. And she says, don't even sign for the package. I signed for you. I don't want you touching the digital thing where you have to sign because it can give you COVID, and I don't want to give you COVID. I want you to be healthy. And I'm like, the COVID doesn't scare me half as much as dictatorship here in Israel does. And she looks at me and she smiles. So people, even the most brainwashed who are still afraid of COVID, are already waking up. And that's a very good sign. So I don't know how to finish this video other than to tell you that we are all individuals. And I don't know why I've been given health issues. I don't know why I have to face dealing with cancer and endometriosis and everything else. All I can tell you is that my unique circumstances have put me in a very unique place to be able to confront police officers and people who usually wouldn't be able to be woken up by normal, if you call it, people or healthy people. And my health is getting a lot better, knock on wood, you never know, but I'm not in any pain, I'm feeling well, and I'm hoping to keep feeling better and better every single day. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to mention. The reason they didn't give me the ticket, which is obviously, of course, I forgot to tell you the most important part, is that they're saying, I know you gave us the disability card, but we can't be sure that you have disability that justifies not wearing a mask. And they demanded I show them my personal documents from the hospital proving that I am mask exempt. And I said, actually, I don't have to show you anything. This is private information. And then they're saying, well, so far you haven't shown any proof of disability. And in Israel, it's two different words. Like they said, you didn't show us any proof of handicap, and we were still going to give you a ticket. And I said, oh, wait a second, a disability card doesn't show proof of handicap? And they say, no, it doesn't. And then I got up and I screamed at them and I said, showing you my disability card, which is over here, and I raise it like high, that doesn't prove that I have a handicap to be mask exempt. And then they're like, well, it doesn't, but we're not going to give you a fine, so you're lucky today, or something like that. Never underestimate how unscrupulous people always want to show themselves to be good people in front of the crowd. Never underestimate this. I'm going to stop here. Hopefully tomorrow I will either be at the beach or upload from the beach. We'll see what happens. But for now, just remember, always look for your unique angle and perspective, because individuality there's no one size fits all, and individuality is the proof of that. So never underestimate your unique perspective. And yes, people in Australia, in Canada, and even in Israel have been very badly abused, pushed to the ground, beaten, arrested, pepper sprayed in the face, children, grandmothers of 70 years old. So I'm not saying that you have to do things that you're unable to do, or if you feel like you're in imminent danger, that you still have to fight back. So choose your battles, but try to wake people up at least one at a time. And from what I found to be the most effective, if you're an individual, do it in a way that doesn't antagonize the person in front of you. And if you see that you cannot wake them up, then try to wake up the people around them, because they're always listening, believe it or not. Always use your head. Just read the book IBM and the Holocaust, and the IBM motto to exploit as many people as possible and kill as many Jews as possible and all that was think. So let me use the same word and say think what you can do at any given moment. And sometimes it's as little as standing next to a group of people protesting in silence. Sometimes it is actually shouting in slogans, but be careful who you're joining and how you do it, because strength in numbers matters, but not always. And sometimes it can be just as little as sitting around the people who used to be your coworkers and friends and reading a book and waiting for them to come up to you and talk to you one-on-one. And sometimes it can just be talking to someone and asking them questions with the Socratic method, or I don't know, whatever comes to mind, because obviously my thoughts are relevant to myself and your ideas are relevant to you. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to sometimes take the day off. Today I didn't feel like I was up to going to the beach because it involved taking several buses and trains and confronting these same officers maybe. So today I didn't feel I was strong enough, and obviously my physical health and whatever you call mental health today, it's been such a buzzword and it's been so abused that I don't even know how to describe it, but I didn't feel like I was able to be as strong as I was yesterday. Yesterday I didn't even have a choice. I was listening to an audiobook looking out the window. But today I needed the time to heal. And take the time to heal and take the time to think. Because when you don't heal and when you're not your best, you will be making mistakes and you might get arrested, you might get fined, you might experience violence. And at the very least, if you experience these things, make sure that it has nothing to do with something you could have done differently. We have to be extremely smart about this. We have to be as many as possible and as random as possible, because there's nothing collectivists fear more than individual thought, and there is a very good reason for that. I'm leaving you with that. If maybe check the description. I don't know what to add in the description today, but if I think of something, I'll add it, and if not, I don't know. I'll keep uploading, I'll keep updating, and look, even if this fails, I've said this before, even if this fails and we live in a complete dictatorship, at the very least, we will not let them, we will be fighting all the way back, all the way down, as I said. So at least give them a hard time on the way down. That would be like the blackest of black pills ever. Even if it fails, even if we live in the 2030 agenda, whatever they're doing, just give them a hard time for as long as possible. But I do think that if we wake as many people up as possible, they will still be unable to implement their plan. And it's already obvious, as Dr. Reiner Fromich says, it's very obvious that they're panicking and making stupid mistakes. Let them be the ones making the stupid mistakes and not ourselves. Thank you for listening. By the way, I know like I have like 100 subscribers. It's actually 300 now, but I'll still call it my 100 subscribers. But I would like to direct you to Julie Mora's channel. She has about 10,000 subscribers. I think she's an amateur historian, but I don't know. I'm very new to her channel. She talks a lot about this and about history, and I've recently become very addicted to her channel. She's a very charming and gorgeous and very smart woman, and I don't know, I'll do my part to make her channel grow by at least 100 subscribers. Please don't take this the wrong way. This is a joke. I mean, having just 2 people listen to me online is a huge honor. And I thank everyone who's subscribed, anyone who's commenting and asking questions, because we have to communicate with each other. Oh, I will add one last thing, and thank you for putting up with me. There's a lot of talk about secession in the United States, and the libertarian movement has become extremely popular lately, and I'm listening to them. I love how they think, but I don't think secession is a good idea. So for what it's worth to my American friends, do not support secession. And I'll give you several reasons why. First off, does anyone here think that if 1 or 2 states secede from the Union because they disagree with the new regime, does anyone here think that the blue states, will stop infiltrating into the red states and doing the same thing until it's completely blue? Does anyone here think that if you think these forces are as evil as, let's say, we think they are, do you think they're going to stop at like 48 states, 40 states, 30 states? Or do you think they will not stop until they reach all 50 states? And what's happening at the Texas border is proof of that. So don't underestimate them. Don't give them any concessions. And there are better ways than seceding and making the United States, the biggest country, the biggest, freest country in the world, less of a threat to totalitarian states like China, for example. So for what it's worth, I know democracy is not the best, it's at its best right now, but anarchy is very susceptible to infiltration by these same corporations who are trying to fight off. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I think. I think that there is strength in people holding in their heads the idealized version of democracy. I know that democracy doesn't look like we think it should look right now, and it probably hasn't looked that way for a very long time. Like seeing Israel coming from Russia, thinking that it's a completely free state, and now seeing that we're living in a dictatorship and it's probably always been this way, is very eye-opening to me. But everyone here who knows that they're able to protest, there's a reason they don't protest in North Korea. There's a reason they very rarely protest in countries where they don't believe they have democracy. So make sure that you clean up your systems of demos kratos, of the people's rule, in a way that you're happy with them, and not just giving up systems that worked for a while, for something that you don't know what it is. Because Soviet Russia happened because they overthrew the Tsar, who wasn't perfect by any means. If you investigate what happened during his time and Rasputin and all that, it was pretty shitty. He actually opened fire on protesters. But what happened later, everyone confessed that it was much worse. So don't give up a malfunctioning good system for something that you don't know what it is. Because if I remember correctly, there's a lot of documentation that talks about how the people, the Davos group and all of these people are actually deliberately trying to overthrow democracy. And trust me, they will not be overthrowing democracy to make it any better. That's it. Probably forgot some things, but that's it. And oh look, there's a plushie of a hedgehog in my, I think it's my upper left corner, because like when you are doing a selfie, it's usually the other side, and I confuse my left and my right anyways. Yeah. So thank you for listening, and share your thoughts with me, whatever they are. I'll do my best to answer questions, and share your thoughts, your knowledge with me, your ideas with me. And I hope this is inspiring someone to start thinking about how they can take smart action. Thank you from Jerusalem, Israel. By the way, today is October 4th, 2021, just in case you're wondering.